Trace, have you thought about how this is your last whiteout game?
Yeah, a little bit. More so just been focusing on the game and what's coming up this Saturday. Not necessarily that's the last whiteout game. You know, every time you get an opportunity to play in the whiteout, you're excited. So probably after the game might hit me that that's the last one I'll be as a player. But right now, I'm more so just focused on the task at hand, preparing for the game on Saturday, more so than thinking about this being the last whiteout.
You have so many young guys who are going to be in this situation for the first time. Is there anything that the leaders kind of have to say to them about keeping your cool enough, maybe getting too wrapped up in the atmosphere?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just to realize that it's still the same game. The field size doesn't change, the measurables don't change. It's just the atmosphere is different, and for us, we're able to play into that a little bit more because we feed off of that energy in our own stadium. So I think that's the biggest thing, is that understanding that all those people out there are there supporting you, so just go out and feed off that energy. Don't do anything out of the ordinary that you wouldn't usually do. Just go in, probably when you get in there, first 10 seconds run out of the tunnel, enjoy the moment for that time, kind of realize how special that is, and then be ready to play the game and just execute at the end of the day.
Trace, at what point in time on Saturday when you guys get in, for you personally, you start to let the juice of the crowd and everything else inside so that you're not, you don't want to be too hyped and then be exhausted in the middle of the game because you're gassed?
No, yeah, that's definitely something that you got to make sure you're not, hitting that peak too soon. You're not, getting too amped up during warm-ups, so that when kickoff comes, you're already drained. You kind of got to be able to get that right sort of flow and get into that right feel. I think really start getting the juices going right before you get in the locker room or right before the game starts. When you run out of the tunnel, that's when you kind of, take that 10 seconds and let the emotions kind of get to you, and kind of let that fuel everything that you're feeling right there. And then you're able to just kind of, once you go through that, lock in and then be ready to execute.
It's been a small sample size, but do you notice much of a difference without Nick Bosa on the field?
Yeah, like I said, it's been a small sample size. I mean, they're a tremendous defense as it is. They're really talented, especially up front. That's kind of been their staple for the last couple of years. And then they've produced top defensive backs year after year, and the linebackers same deal. So they're a top defense, and they're going to approach it next man up mentality. So it's. He's not going to be there, but they're going to be able to reload and still be ready to come at you.
Trace, obviously you guys are focused on this weekend, but with fans, everything on Twitter, videos, it's hard to hard to ignore the game 2 years ago. How big was that for you personally? That moment, that game, and kind of what's it like seeing some of the videos and all that kind of stuff on Twitter and whatnot still go around?
Yeah, I think just as a team. What that game meant to us years ago, it kind of skyrocketed us on the track we've been on for the last couple of years. I think that was probably the moment as a program that we really grew up and started realizing that we can compete at the top level of college football. When we had been able to compete, but when it came to the top level games, we would be into them, but we wouldn't end up pulling them off. And that was the first one, real big game that we were able to pull off. And I think that was probably just a growing moment for our program. But I mean, we're two completely different teams at this point. I mean, it's night and day almost from the team that we had back then and they had back then, and then what we got now. So, two different teams showing up this weekend, but same atmosphere as always. And I know Coach wants it to be the craziest that's ever happened in college football history and all that kind of stuff. He's been getting all the fans used to how he does on Twitter and all that. So. That's the main thing. It was a growing moment, I think, for our teams a couple years ago, but like I said, two completely different teams now.
And Coach Franklin, over the past 3 years, has referred to you several times as like a steady Eddie kind of guy. But is there something about like a whiteout, about like a bowl game, a bigger game that kind of, gets to you a little bit or amps you up a little bit more?
Yeah, I think for me, I always try and stay the same, try and prepare the same. Whether we're playing whoever versus the whiteout, whatever it might be. That's just kind of how I approach, and I try and keep my approach the same, so I'm always in that same mentality and keep my routine fairly the same. But I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say that games like this, when it came to Saturdays, you didn't have a little bit more juice, and you didn't the magnitude, you weren't as aware of it. I mean, you're definitely aware of the magnitude when you step foot into a game like this and things like that. And that's where I think you take that time to realize that and not let it get too big, and just understand where you're at. Take that time, 5-10 seconds, enjoy the moment, realize where you're at. But then you lock in and you're ready to go. And you kind of get back in that routine. So I think understanding that this magnitude is a little bit different with the atmosphere and everything around it, but being able to lock in and just play the game like you always have, I think that's the key.
Have you had the I'm the old guy moments yet? I mean, half this team wasn't playing with you the last time, you know, this game took place in Beaver Stadium. Are there these moments where you go, I've been doing this forever, and you're running out of time almost here?
Not really. I haven't really thought too much about that. I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't think I was old when I just turned 23 and someone, I think Daniel George just turned 19. It's just weird to me at that point, but those are really the old, wow, I'm old type moments I've had, not necessarily, you know, things happening during the day or, you know, experiences like this coming up. Those are just kind of just day by day, and you take it like that. So
you're 4 games into Ricky Ronnie's kind of tenure as OC, and the bowl game also as well. How have you seen that kind of evolve over the last few weeks in terms of what he's been able to do?
You know, I think his approach has remained the same. He's, you know, how he said he was going to call games, he has. You know, I think he's had a big emphasis on our physicality, especially up front, and, you know, kind of that being our strong point the last couple of games, and really riding that wave a little bit. And even if you go back to last week, you know, really riding that running game, because, you know, he was able to realize that's where we were on, and we were able to ride that. But I mean, I think his approach has been the same. You know, I think he's as we were at the beginning of the season, you know, asking me what I think about certain things, and we're asking, you know, Tommy, other quarterbacks, you know, how do we feel about reading this thing, and, you know, certain things like that, and how our offense is being built and constructed for the game plan. So he's maintained the same, you know, mentality and same routine. He's a lot like, you know, myself in that way. He has his routine. He knows what he's watching on Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday, and, you know, all through the week. He's watching the same things, knows what he needs to get done, and he's just been able to maintain that routine and you know, keep our offense pushing along and continue to, you know, make sure that we're striving to get better every day and elevating and taking that next step every game and every week.
Jomo was in the box. Jomo was on the field, and he's in the box. What are the differences there? Is there a difference in the amount you communicate with the OC at this point, or how does that dynamic work?
Not really. I'm communicating with him after every drive, getting on a headset and talking with him. That's something that it hasn't really changed the amount of communication. It's the same thing when Jomo was here. I'd go talk with him. We'd go over the last drive, go over a couple points, and then I'd go talk with the linemen. I'd go talk with the receivers, and I would kind of have my own conversation with those guys. So the amount of communication has been the exact same, I think, and honestly, it's just been the way of communicating has just been much changed.
Hey Trace, when James came here and he talked to you instead of going to Vanderbilt here, did he share what his vision for what was going to happen here? And did he or you envision this when you came?
Yeah, I mean, his vision was the same as here as it was at Vanderbilt. That's been his mantra and his vision, that he wanted to, you know, make his program the best in the country, and, you know, push and, you know, compete for conference championships, national championships. That's kind of one of the reasons why I really liked him and wanted him to be my coach when I was in high school, because that was how I envisioned, you know, what I wanted to do, and I wanted to be playing for a coach that had those same sort of visions and wanted to, you know, build a program up and kind of do it through the hard work and things like that. So, you know, I think his vision has been somewhat similar to this and what we've, you know, been able to achieve. And I think this is probably maybe not exactly how we envisioned it happening, but getting to this level, you know, both of us, that's probably what we envisioned when we came here.
Trace, how did Ohio State game last year affect you guys coming into this year?
I think the biggest thing is, you know, we were able to realize how much the small details were, and that was the lesson we learned last year. Coming out after that game, and I think we've just been able to carry that with us really into this season. We carried it with us all through the off season, carried us with us when we got to prepare for App State, and it's just continued to carry it all the way through. So understanding how small that margin of error is, and how, you know, every little detail going back to, you know, Sunday or Monday, however you practice or prepare, you know, how you're watching film, every little detail matters.
How do you stress that to guys throughout the week, where it is, hey, do you pull guys aside and say, hey, you know, you messed that up, should be that, or do you point those things out to people?
Yeah, I think that just kind of comes as being a leader, being, you know, a quarterback. When if a guy's not having the right focus that he needs to have, or if it, you know, details a little bit off, that you're, you know, correcting him and letting him know that this is how we want it done and things like that. You know, I think that something that's been talked about is just, you know, details and probably maybe stress it a little bit more. But we always stress details. That's something that Coach Franklin he talks about all the time. There's no little details. And he talks about that even when it comes to cleaning up the locker room after practice. That all those little details they matter on Saturday. So that's just kind of his mentality and how he wants our program run.
Trace, field position is obviously important in any game, but with a pretty close, tough, hard-fought matchup coming up, how important or how big of a difference does Blake Gill can make in a game like that?
Yeah, I think Blake is a factor in every game that we come into, where how he's able to flip field position, like that with one kick. We could be on our own 30, then he knocks him down back to their 20, 30, whatever it might be, inside there. So he's a huge factor in the field position battle. He's great at what he does, and we're glad that he's on our team. Personally, I hope he has a very boring day. He's not really on the field too much, but having him on our side, we know that he's going to be able to flip field and be able to pin guys deep if he gets that opportunity.
Trace, what's the biggest challenge? Go ahead, Audrey. I'll take one after you.
I'll say, yeah, I'll get you next. Is there a different mindset for you going into a game like this where you guys are averaging 55 and a half, they're averaging 54 and a half, knowing that you might have to put up a ton of points? Does that impact anything at all, knowing maybe that every possession is a little more magnified perhaps?
No, not really. That's we prepare every week to score as many points as we need to. Our goal every week is to score one more point than our opponent. That's kind of the overall mentality is do whatever we can to score more points than the other team. Whether the team's scoring 3 points a game or 60 points a game, that's just the task that we have on that given day. Our defense is kind of preparing with understanding that these guys have a really potent offense. They quick strike. They're able to push the ball down the field with a lot of efficiency, and they've done a really good job. Dwayne's done a great job with that over there, and he's a talented thrower, talented passer. Kind of was able to work out with him through high school, so I understand. And I've seen it firsthand, and that the ball spins off his hand really well, and he's pretty accurate. So that's some of our defensive stress, is just being able to, take away and do some things there on their side of the ball to be able to, hold them down. And we know we got to do what we need to score as many points as possible.
Trace, regarding Dwayne Haskins, what is the biggest challenges a visiting quarterback faces in this setting? And is there a moment on the road early in your career where it was just an overwhelming situation and you really had to power through that? Because of the crowd involvement?
Yeah, as a opposing quarterback in the Big Ten, anytime you go on the road, you're going to have challenges with fans yelling, screaming. My first experience was probably when we went to Pitt 2 years ago. That was probably my first experience with a real rowdy away crowd, having to deal with some noise and things like that. And you had to really be on your A game and things like that. So I know our crowd's gonna make it tough for them. That's kind of what they do every game, and every whiteout they give us energy and create a lot of chaos for the other team. So that's kind of what the whiteout does to opponents.